What if I told you that while Americans were distracted by celebrity gossip, Diddy trials, TikTok filters, your elected officials just signed off on a Trojan horse bill that funds war, blocks AI regulation, and greenlights global surveillance, and that the only man calling out was immediately attacked by both sides? We're going to dig into this because I talked about this the other day, and people said, no, everything's fine. Nothing's fine. Guys, this is Black Scout Survival Late Night Live, your nightly intel briefing straight from the war room. And anyway, we're going to be talking about the big, beautiful bill or lie. We're going to put it on blast, man. This isn't a rant. This is an intel grade breakdown of what just happened inside Washington and how it's going to impact your money, your freedom, and your food and your future. So here's what's coming. Elon Musk, we talked about him, versus Trump. I told you there was a fracture there. Everybody in the comments said, no, you're wrong, man. They're best friends. Fractured relationship. Okay. There's an internal civil war within the GOP. There's been bioweapons smuggled into the U.S. right currently, right? Like just happened, not during Biden administration, like just happened. Luckily, it was caught. This one was. We don't know about the rest of them. There was $411,000 blown in Ukraine, and why seemingly patriotic bill may be the biggest deep state backdoor we've seen since the Patriot Act. Stay sharp and let's get into it. Now, first off, Elon Musk, billionaire, free speech arsonist, and self-proclaimed centrist. He just detonated a truth bomb on X. Anyway, he posted, let me see. Is it? Yeah, there he goes. All right, so this is what he posts. He says, the big, beautiful bill, quote, is a massive, outrageous pork-filled congressional spending bill discussing abomination. Shame on you that voted for it. You know you did wrong. And now here's where things get controversial, okay? He's talking about the very bill President Trump just signed off on. Now, if you pause right there, because I want to address something directly. Some of you remember I promoted this bill a few days ago, and you're probably wondering, wait, hey, Jack, it's changed. Well, here's what changed. We got under the hood of this thing, man. We dissected it. We dissected the language. We followed the money trail, and what we found buried inside this thing is not exactly what we were promised, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I support Donald Trump, voted for him 5 times. I support the mission, tax cuts, border security, and killing off the deep state. But this bill got hijacked somehow. There's Uniparty stuffed in it with blank checks for Ukraine. There's backdoor AI surveillance, worse than the Patriot Act, and more pork than a Chinese wet market. I will not lie to you to save face. I'll call it what it is. It's basically a hostile takeover inside of a patriotic plan. Now, a lot of people have been mentioning this. Palantir, I think is the name. This surveillance system that's going to be able to be utilized by the federal government and 3-letter agencies, basically Patriot Act on steroids, okay? Now, Elon is not wrong on this. Even Thomas Massie backed him up. He said he's right. And then we had Rand Paul said it's a $5 trillion disaster. And then Trump actually went on to attack Rand Paul. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But even Marjorie Taylor Greene jumped in there. And she said that she admitted that she didn't read the damn thing. And she said if she would have voted no. You can't make this up, man. We have elected officials actually voting blind on legislation that affects the future of the republic. Speaker Mike Johnson tried to save face. He says, man, he's trying to put a smiley face on a dead pig. He said, I count on Elon as a good friend. And he told Elon to chill, basically. He said the bill secures $1.6 billion in savings. Really, how do you save money by raising debt ceiling by $5 trillion? That's like saying you're curing obesity with the 4th cheeseburger. Now, also, the Rules Committee and House Republican leadership has decided not to bring DOGE spending cuts to the floor for vote per Anna Paulina, Luna. So they're not even going to implement the freaking Doge cuts. Okay. So all those savings and all those checks you were thinking about, you were hearing about getting, they're not even implementing those things. Now, President Trump, God bless him, isn't taking criticism lightly. Again, he fired back at Rand Paul like a tactical nuke on True Social. He said, Rand votes no on everything. He called him a loser with no solutions and declared the bill a big growth winner in a classic Cap Locks fashion. And to be fair, Trump is right on the mission, right? He wants to grow the economy, unleash energy, and crush the bureaucratic rot. But the problem isn't the vision, it's what the GOP saboteurs loaded into the vehicle. Because while we were looking at tax cuts and border walls, and they buried these other things, a clause blocking states from regulating AI for 10 years. So the federal government will be able to use AI as they see fit and just Patriot Act 2.0. They've got Palantir in there, man. You know, unlimited cash for foreign wars, right? We're already spent gazillions of dollars in Ukraine, and there's zero oversight on executive level spending. This wasn't a growth bill, man. This was a growth hormone shot for the deep state. Now, while Congress was busy blowing our budget, guess what China was doing, right? And we have a lot of enemies. Don't mistake this, right, guys? A lot of people say, well, China's not the enemy. China is a freaking enemy. The wake-up call, China's the enemy. I'm tired of hearing people say APEC, this, that. Yeah, of course, APEC's enemy. We have all these freaking enemies. You get tunnel vision like a horse, man. Like you got your blinders on, you can't see anything. We've got tons of enemies. Everybody's trying to destroy America, even Americans. And for some reason, people get focused on one. Dude, it's all of them. It's all of them. Even people that are voted into freaking Congress. They're there trying to destroy too at the same time. But China is a freaking real threat, guys. Real threat. I seen the last video or whatever I did about China. China's not the threat. Okay. Well, they just smuggled in agro-terrorism agents into America. Okay. And for the people that are eating tofu salad still, you don't understand what that means. That means total destruction of your freaking food supply. Okay. Overnight, we have 2 Chinese nationals tied to the CCP that were caught importing Fusarium graminearum. I think that's how you pronounce it, a crop-killing fungus. I'm sure the studs in the comment section will correct me. If you don't know what that is, it's a pathogen that destroys wheat production, okay? Wheat production. And I mean, you're talking maize, you're talking corn, you're talking all kind of stuff, crops. Classified by the DOJ as a biological threat with terrorist potential, right? Smuggled into the country. Look at it. Boom, ready to go deploy it. How many bags of that stuff came across the border during the Biden administration? That's what we need to ask ourselves. How much of that stuff has already gotten here, right? That's not a conspiracy, man. That's the Department of Justice language. That is a legit threat. So the question is why? Why target wheat? Well, because you don't need bombs if you can starve a complete population. You don't need missiles if you can break a nation from the inside out. First fentanyl, now food. And we let them in with the open borders, climate change, handshakes, right? We let them in. And that's what we got brewing right now. But you got also Lindsey Graham, right? Oh, slick Lindsey. Lindsey, let's pivot to Ukraine, our favorite money pit. Turns out Senator Lindsey Graham spent $634,000 on a hotel visit to Ukraine. Yes. Look at it. That's not a typo. $400,000 on lodging. Was he freaking sleeping in a gold-plated palace with Zelensky spoon-feeding him caviar? What the hell kind of hotel costs $500,000? Right? What was he planning? But this is what makes us freaking suspicious, is that Graham and Richard Blumenthal were in Ukraine. They urged Zelensky to keep fighting. Okay? Again, here's the bill. Take a screenshot. Okay? Taxpayer money, by the way. There's Zelensky to keep fighting. Less than 24 hours, man. Ukraine strikes deep inside Russia, hitting long-range bombers in a major escalation. Right? And all this happens while Trump's trying to end the war. These freaking neocons. They're running rogue missions behind the commander-in-chief. That's not patriotism. That's treasonous opportunism. Okay? Now, they're talking about Russia's preparing disproportionate response to air base attack. Say that 3 times fast. Oh man, NATO must brace to be attacked by Putin, warns Germany defense chief as Zelensky celebrates brilliant historic drone strike that wiped out a third of Russian strategic bombers in $7 billion blitz. But that's not all. It's not all. We got, if that wasn't enough chaos for you, the U.S. Navy is now poking the dragon in the South China Sea. The USS Dewey conducted a freedom of navigation mission. Let me translate that for you. We sailed our warships right through contested Chinese territory with the middle finger flying high. Photos were released that show Chinese naval vessels shadowing the Dewey and her sister ship, the USS Benfold. And while the Pentagon frames this as some kind of upholding maritime law, the CCP sees it as a direct provocation. So ask yourself, what happens when Russia, China, and Iran all decide to say, screw these guys. Let's show them what time it is. We're stretched thin. Our militaries, we're trying to get out the woke garbage that has infiltrated it. It's hard. Our supply chain is fragile. And our enemies are coordinated. I mean, they're bringing in stuff to destroy our total food supply, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't about showing strength. It's about knowing when you're walking into a 3-front war with your pants down. That's what this is. Okay. We also have Pete Hegseth stating that they're looking to take Taiwan.
Attempt by communist China to conquer Taiwan by force would result in devastating consequences for the Indo-Pacific and the world. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. The threat China poses is real, and it could be imminent. We hope not, but it certainly could be. It has to be clear to all that Beijing is credibly preparing to potentially use military force to alter the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. We know, it's public, that Xi has ordered his military to be capable of invading Taiwan by 2027. The PLA is building the military needed to do it, training for it every day, and rehearsing for the real deal. Admiral Paparo has spoken very clearly about this on multiple occasions.
You heard the man. He said that if they go into Taiwan, America's going to fight the war. So you'll be fighting on mainland China. That's what you'll be doing. Anyway, here's the hard truth, okay? You were sold a bill. You and I were sold a bill to save America, but it was laced with poison. You were told we were ending the wars, but really they're just escalating them. You were told AI was under control, and they just handed it 10 years of unchecked power. And trust me, AI is dangerous. And you were told America's first was back, but you weren't told about the Uniparty has never left the building. We are in a time of internal sabotage and external siege. And if you're still waiting for the cavalry, you haven't been paying attention. Okay. Because I already told you, right? So here's your mission. Okay. Stay loyal to the truth, not the party line. Call out weak men in high places and read what they won't read. And never surrender your mind, your money, or your mission to the machine, right? This is Black Scout Survival. Train, learn, speak, survive, because no one is coming to save you.